Isfet Archives has adult language and violence and is not suitable for children. Listener discretion is advised. Isfet Archives is a Creative Typo entertainment production. If you enjoy this show, we invite you to support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Creative Typo. All levels of membership include ad-free listening, and our binge tier includes access to this complete season. Thank you for listening.
Chapter 20. The Long Road Home.
And while we're on the topic, let's talk about humans.
I think I'm pretty familiar with how humans work.
Emily, you may believe you have a foundational understanding of humans, but I suggest you take some time to restructure your assumptions. You are not a human, and because of that, many humans will seek to destroy or control you. In general, humans are a destructive force. They consume, expand, and negotiate power over one another, as well as the environment they reside within. You must be alert with humans around you, trusting them only after they have earned it, not as a default.
I don't like that. You can't assume everyone is bad just because some humans are. I believe there are more good humans than bad ones.
Good and bad are subjective and mean little in this context. It is not about whether the individual fits your ideal morality. It is about what drives constructive or deconstructive actions from the human in question. Humans frequently fear what they do not understand. This fear may initiate a reaction of violence, or a need to control the source of the fear. In this scenario, violence against or control of you. Time and time again, humans have proven to reject concepts that they cannot understand. They reject nature, they reject science, they even reject each other, especially on topics of religion, morality, and application of power. Their frequent acts of consumption, coupled with their thirst for power, creates a phobia of scarcity, as well as an inherent desire to be the most powerful creature in the local vicinity. You must be mindful of these facts when dealing with humans en masse.
If humans are so awful, why do chroniclers and guides work so hard to protect them? I mean, you hunt anomalies in order to keep humans safe. It seems like a lot of effort for a group of people that you fear.
While humans are dangerous, they also are creative and innovative. Many of the hidden depend on the humans for our own personal survival. Anomalies, guides, and bloodborne are created from humans. Shifters and dream wraiths take their forms from humans. And chroniclers rely on the imagination of humans. Their ability to imagine and lie is impactful to my kind. We all depend on each other in one way or another, despite what humans may believe.
It seems like there could be a better way. I feel like we could all coexist.
We do coexist with humans.
Yeah, but they don't know that. I mean, I want a way for us to coexist in the open. That's the world that I would like to live in.
Emily, I would like that world as well. That is partially why I am interested in working with you. I want to find a way to coexist with your kind, but for now, we must be careful.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I should probably stay away from humans anyway. At least until I can figure out how to control my Isfet.
I am glad you are making an effort to understand.
You don't have to word it like that, Hastings.
Now, I must finish packing for my trip to the Chronicler Archives. We can discuss more about the hidden when September and I return from Libya.
Sounds good. I look forward to continuing my studies, Professor.
September scrolled through the anomaly candidates that were contained in the jump drives Hastings had recovered. The guide had already perused the contents several times, carefully evaluating the priority of each potential anomaly. The Chronicler jump drives followed a specific system.
one whose intricacies September didn't fully grasp. He wasn't even sure if Hastings understood how chroniclers at the archives identified emerging anomalies, but one thing was clear: the system was effective. The drives categorized anomalies using a color-coded system based on the likelihood of a tap, the moment an anomaly first harnesses their Isfet. Many experience this tap in their late teenage years, though there's been a recent trend of anomalies tapping in their early 20s. This shift is theorized to be an evolutionary adaptation, allowing anomalies more time to develop before confronting the world, akin to a baby developing in the womb for an extra week of additional development. Regarding the jump drives, the 3 factors for classification are red, purple, and blue. Red marks those too young to tap, but fitting whatever criteria the chroniclers have for identification. This age group generally consists of 12 to 18-year-old children. They are not to be investigated, but awareness is recommended. Chroniclers do not forget faces or names, so it is never too early to log candidates. Purple targets are mostly individuals aged 19 to 20. This group is of the age to tap, but is considered unlikely. Purples are under the watch of chronicler specialists who conduct non-intrusive monitoring. In the unlikely event that a purple does tap, the specialist will call in a duo. A duo is made up of a chronicler and a guide, much like Hastings in September. They are expected to review the contents of a drive, search out the targets with the blue color classification, and then accept a job. Upon accepting the job and informing the archives, the duo's duty is to seek out the anomaly, verify the tap, and then neutralize the target. This was September's mandate with Emily, a responsibility he accepted but failed to fulfill by sparing her life. September removed the data stick from the USB port, idly tapping it against his palm. His gaze swept over the airport terminal as Hastings approached, returning with snacks and bottles of water.
Thank you for grabbing snacks. I'm starving.
You are welcome, September. We have a little over an hour before boarding should begin our next flight.
Noted.
I think I rather enjoy this airport.
You do?
Yes, although I do say it isn't the cleanest airport we have visited.
I don't think anyone has ever accused Boston International for being the cleanest.
Even being slightly dirty, I prefer this to Atlanta.
That's not saying much. You hate Atlanta.
I like the city of Atlanta, just not the airport.
Well, the airport doesn't like you either, so I would say the feeling is mutual.
Airports do not have feelings, September. But you already know this.
Yes, Hastings, it was a joke. It was meant to be funny.
Did you think it was funny?
A little.
Good. Your efforts were not wasted.
Was that an intentional burn?
Yes, it was. Was it good?
You've been spending too much time with Emily. Her snark is starting to rub off on you.
While we are on the topic of anomalies, what did you find?
Not much more than what you already saw. There are 9 anomalies flagged as blue in the United States. Only 9 in the whole country. I was hoping there would be more.
That number seems accurate to me. The United States accounts for roughly 4.25% of the world's population. There are 81 anomalies born every year. Statistically, 3 to 4 anomalies should be born in the United States every year. Considering that anomalies do not tap at exactly 20 years old, and exactly 81 anomalies are not eliminated every year, it is possible that there are 9 targets in their early 20s residing in the country.
Are you trying to attribute order to chaos? Isfet is just as likely to drop all 81 anomalies in the US as it is to drop all 81 in Taiwan. Statistics don't really have a role here.
Okay, September. I was just noting that the math seemed reasonable.
Yeah, I know. I just wish we had more than 9. And they're all spread out.
Have you come up with a plan?
I believe so. I would like to find a second anomaly and partner them up with Emily.
That seems incredibly risky.
Maybe.
The potential for catastrophe would increase significantly. In theory.
We don't know that for certain. At this point, we only know what we've personally tested.
I still believe it to be dangerous.
Yeah, it probably will be, but I know it's what we have to do next.
We also need to account for the fact that we are no longer an active duo, so we cannot take responsibility for any of those blues.
We don't need to take responsibility from the archives. We just need to get to them first.
There is also the potential that another duo is assigned to monitor the blue already. We could find ourselves in conflict with other guides and chroniclers.
That's a risk we will have to take.
All right, September, as long as you have a plan.
Thank you, Hastings. By the way, have you called Emily yet to let her know we're on our way?
Oh, no. I can do that now. It appears I have a voicemail from her.
Skip the voicemail and just call her back. It'll be better to check in.
Okay, September. I'm calling her now.
Emily stared out the front passenger side window of Detective George Bullard's car, taking a deep, satisfying breath, relishing the momentary silence. The detective had handcuffed Marcus and placed him in the back seat, allowing Emily to ride up front, provided she continued to comply with Bullard's orders. The ensuing interrogation was exhaustive. She told the detective everything that had occurred since leaving the Chicago Police Department on the day of the explosion. She detailed the roles of anomalies, guides, chroniclers, and shifters. She emphasized that she was the one posing a danger, not Marcus. Almost pleading, she made a case for Marcus, insisting on his role in protecting others from her. Detective Bullard maintained his focus on the road and only interjected with questions when the narrative began to dwindle. Occasionally, he'd glance at Emily or peek in the rearview mirror to gauge Marcus's reactions. He was searching for something in their expressions, but Emily couldn't decipher what he might be seeing. She hoped her story was convincing by the time she finished. Bullard listened so intently that his engagement almost suggested belief. Then he took out his phone, pressed the start button on the voice recording application, and asked her to begin again. After the third or fourth repetition, Bullard deemed a break necessary. Marcus, still bearing the brunt of the past few days' events, looked particularly worn out. Bullard informed Emily that they were headed back to the station, where they would answer questions and Marcus could receive medical attention. 20 minutes had passed since that conversation, leaving Emily frustrated and Marcus visibly anxious. Just as Emily was about to break the silence with a concern for Marcus, her phone's ringer shattered the calm. The caller ID flashed. Hastings.
Hastings?
Hello, Emily.
Where have you been? I've been trying to get a hold of you.
We have been in Libya.
I know, but you couldn't answer my calls?
Your previous attempts to contact me have always occurred at inappropriate times. Is everything okay?
Emily, please put your phone on speaker.
Fine. No, Hastings, everything is not okay.
Who is with you?
Detective Bullard, he's taking us back to Chicago.
Emily, you were supposed to stay in Montana until we returned.
She's not in Montana? Where is she?
She says she's on the way back to Chicago with Detective George Bullard.
I'm going to change our flights. Stay here.
Emily, is the Harbinger still with you?
Yeah, Marcus is still here.
I understand.
Hastings, something is chasing us. It's trying to kill us.
What do you mean, something?
I think it's a shifter.
Is that why you are with Detective George Bullard?
No, that's a bit of a long story.
I assume you will tell me those details later?
Yeah, I will. Listen, so we were attacked by the shifter at the ranch house. Then Marcus took us to some motel where we found a couple of dead Contra agents. They had files on me, Marcus, Sam, and Amber. They said that if they couldn't find me, that they were going to have to kill Sam and Amber.
You said you found the dead agents. Was it Isfet?
No, I think the shifter killed them. I might have killed the shifter, though.
I thought I was clear when I told you not to fight a shifter. You should run.
I was trapped. My Isfet just lashed out.
Emily, I do not think you should go back to Chicago. You could hurt a lot of people.
What?
The city is too big and you cannot control your Isfet. Why don't you call Sam and Amber and let me and September stop by to check on them? Going there is likely a bad idea.
Hastings, it's not as if I have a choice. Bullard has Marcus over here in cuffs, and he's arresting both of us.
I wouldn't recommend that either. Did he forget what happened the last time you three were in a police station?
Was that a threat?
Emily, just call Amber and Sam.
I tried that. They think I've been kidnapped and that I'm being brainwashed or something.
We are in Boston right now. September is changing our flights to go to Chicago. We will be there as soon as possible. Why don't you find someplace safe to lay low and we will come to you once we land?
What part of we are under arrest aren't you comprehending here? And look, even if we weren't under arrest, I'm going back to Chicago. I'm going to help my friends one way or another.
Emily, I don't
Hastings, I don't care. I'm not asking you for permission to go to Chicago. If you want to come to Chicago and help, I'll be grateful, but I'm going to do what I want with or without your help. Goodbye.
That was a little aggressive.
Says the guy that handcuffed Marcus and tossed him in the back of the car.
At least they didn't cuff you.
Cute.
Emily, he's a criminal.
Bullard, he's half dead. I mean, look at him. He's too weak to do anything.
I don't think you're fully appreciating the gravity of the situation. He is an escaped fugitive and you were harboring him. This is a very serious offense. Both of you are in a lot of trouble right now. You should be happy it was me that found you on the road.
Yeah, super happy.
I'm serious. If it was another person from another police department would have found you, or the FBI, Emily, I'm probably the best you could have hoped for. With that said, I'm not buying this magic powers bullshit, and you're too smart to think I would. So why don't we take it from the beginning, and you can tell me the truth this time.
I am telling you the truth.
There's absolutely no evidence to back up any of your claims. If you can do magic, do some. Show me.
No, it's too dangerous. You saw what happened to our last car in the bridge.
Of course it's too dangerous. I just need to trust you, right?
What about the files that I showed you? The ones with pictures of all of us? Isn't that proof?
That's proof that someone has a file on you. It could have come from anywhere.
It didn't come from anywhere. It came from this company called TCO Cleaning Supplies. At least that's who the file says will pay the finder's fee.
What do you know about TCO Cleaning Supplies?
It's a fake business front for the Contra, the people that are trying to kill us. The very same people that you seem to think I made up.
I don't know about the Contra, but I've spoken to that company before, and I can assure you they are real.
Really? Why?
They contacted me about you.
What did they say?
Easy now. I'm still asking the questions, not you.
Fine. Well, I'm not answering any more questions until you agree to stop by and check on Sam and Amber.
Yeah, that's not how this works.
Please, let's just stop by their places and get them on the way to the station. I'll comply with everything and answer every question. But please, can we get them and make sure they're safe?
Emily...
Please, there are hitmen after them. And it's my fault.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If you two can be on your best behavior, do as I say, when I say, and answer my questions while we drive, we'll stop by Amber's and Sam's places on the way back to the station. In the meantime, I'll call a buddy and ask him to swing by Amber's place.
Can you send people to go watch their apartments and keep an eye out?
There's no way the captain would let me reserve resources like that without a long explanation of why. And I don't think I'm ready to tell him that a secret organization that's hunting a magical fugitive is planning to use her friends as bait.
This isn't a joke.
I'm not laughing. Look, Davis is a good detective. We can trust them. Now give me a minute to make the call.
Detective Mariano Davis stood before apartment 518, mulling over his next move. Upon his initial arrival, he had politely knocked at the door and announced himself as a detective with the Chicago Police Department. No answer had come from the other side, but the nosy neighbor from the adjacent unit had popped their head out to let Davis know that Amber Lang was not home right now. She had gone to the nearby YMCA to swim, just like she did every Thursday night. After thanking the neighbor and reassuring them that Amber wasn't in trouble, Davis pulled his cell phone from his back pocket and prepared to call Bullard to provide an update. That's when he heard it. Initially faint, Davis was uncertain if it had emanated from Amber's apartment or a neighboring unit, but he had heard it. The sound of a man whispering a curse and bumping into something hard, followed quickly by the hiss of a cat. Davis pressed his ear next to the door, trying to isolate the sounds from the city noise. A cat meowed in irritation inside the apartment, indicating that the hissing had come from within, which meant the sound of the man's whispered curse had also originated inside Amber's apartment. So, Davis considered the situation. The neighbor had said that Amber was at the pool on Thursdays, but that didn't guarantee she went this particular Thursday. The voice inside was certainly not Amber's. Davis had met her several times during her sessions with Bullard, and while she didn't have the most memorable voices, he could tell that the deep masculine voice he heard was not hers. Maybe Amber had a boyfriend, Davis thought. Maybe that boyfriend was hanging out at the house waiting for her. What if that boyfriend hated Amber's cat? That could reasonably lead to the inevitable cat versus boyfriend showdown that they had heard in the apartment. Truth be told, the exact scenario unfolding inside was irrelevant. Davis knew he had to enter. Bullard's brief on Emily's explanation and Davis's knowledge of the involvement of Contra meant that the entity that employed him would expect him to investigate. So it was not a question of whether or not Davis was going into the apartment. It was a matter of how he proceeded once he entered. Should he attempt to creep in stealthily and hope to remain unseen? Would he charge in, claiming to be the valiant knight arriving to save Amber from an anonymous threat? Or would he simply slide through the entrance as an invited guest? Davis pulled his locksmithing tool from his inner pocket and unlocked the deadbolt. He was too old to play the stealth game, and he was too exhausted to play the valiant hero, so fuck it. He decided he was going to walk in like he owned the place. Whatever happened once he was inside would be cleared up with a smile and simple explanation. Besides, he was generally concerned about the cat. With a forced smile, he twisted the handle, opened the door, and stepped in. Just 2 steps. That was all that was needed to validate his suspicions. An individual clad in black with night vision goggles stood on the far side of the room. Davis's instincts kicked in. His left hand hit the wall in search of a light switch, while his right reached for his sidearm. With a lucky break, his left hand struck gold and flipped the switch in a single motion. The light would disrupt the assassin's vision momentarily while their night vision goggles adjusted to the change in lighting. Davis hoped it would be enough time to draw his weapon and gain the advantage. As he unbuttoned the thumb brake snap, pulled his firearm from its holster, and began to raise his arm, Davis caught sight of a second assailant from the corner of his right eye. So much for that luck. The second assassin had been hiding behind the door. Davis turned his head, but it was too late. A syringe plunged into the base of his neck, sending fiery pain coursing through his veins. His vision blurred, his knees buckled, and the floor rushed up to meet him. In the fleeting moments before darkness enveloped him, Detective Mariano Davis saw a small, fluffy cat flee into the back of Amber Lang's one-bedroom apartment. Hastings is voiced by Adam Culbertson. Emily Swanson is voiced by Tisha Zang. September is voiced by Richard Collins. Detective Bullard is voiced by Tony Kinney. And narrated by Michael Cole. Isfet Archives is a Creative Typo Entertainment production. Find out more about our show at www.creativetypo.com.
A very special thank you to our executive producers from Patreon, Nick Mead and Patrick T. Arsenal.